Hello, Instagram Live. I was just inviting our special guest today. We have Isaac, Zach, and Taylor of Hanson joining us in a little bit. They have some really exciting news. They have a new album, Red, Green, Blue, coming out May 20th. And it's 15 tracks written solely by Taylor, Isaac, and Zach. And each one of them wrote 5 singles each, making the 15. So it's more of a concept album. And there's also a color scheme that goes along with it. Basically Taylor's red, Isaac's green, and Zach is blue, but I'll let them tell you a little bit more about that when they get on. Just may take a few seconds. Let's see, sorry about that. Let's see, I think they will be on momentarily. Okay, we'll try that again. Hey,
how you doing?
I was giving my intro on Red, Green, Blue.
Your intro was great. You know, greatest album ever.
It's 15 glorious tracks.
Yeah, no, it was sounding great. It sounded like a great intro.
Well, thank you. Oh my goodness, I have to work on my backing. You guys have it down.
Well, we spend way too much time in our lives doing, not that this is not worth our time, but
of course,
getting ready to do Zoom calls. We've all lived in that world, so.
Of course, no, I know that's the world we're in right now. But yeah, I want you guys to get into it. I mean, tell me a little bit about how the pieces started coming together individually for Red, Green, Blue. Was this something that was in the works individually for you from like String Theory, Against the World, even earlier, or was it something just that came in a flurry?
It's kind of multiple things. The entire world was, thrown off by the COVID, events of the last 2 years, of course. So everybody's project visions were also delayed or changed. And so that, the album we put out last year, Against the World, was originally meant to be a world tour album, but
that was actually part of the intention of Against the World. The idea was we were going to do some fun things related to world touring and all that stuff. Oh, that was a good idea. Anyway, okay, jump on back up. You were speaking of concept record. There was a concept record element in that record that we were not able to realize.
The album Red, Green, Blue. We did start talking about this probably 5 years ago. It's definitely been an album concept that was kind of, I think you reach this certain point as a band. You've been a band for 25 years, and to continue to push yourself, you have to start to add different kinds of elements or change up the way you do things. And this was kind of a really unique way to kind of push yourself. So it's not about the environment so much or the topic. It's like, okay, normally you rely on me to bounce off. Now, okay, you're on your own. Do it in kind of a different way and see what happens.
Actually, he said 25 years. So this year our band hits 30 years, which is kind of staggering. But we started 5 years before most people knew about Hanson. So we're hitting that mark, and so you do have this huge history. And one of the things that we've always done, even if you look at songwriting, people see, we always, people are always contributing songs, but we've never listed, this person wrote this or this person wrote that. In the band, we just wrote Isaac, Taylor, Zach. Sometimes people do more or less, but that's just the way we've always presented our music because we're a collaborative force. And so just the whole idea of here's a record, and here's more individual voices, different aspects of the band. People that see the band live, they get that stronger sense of who the band is, the harmonies, the different people's playing styles, different songwriting styles, singing styles. But then this album, I think one of the things that was important about it for me was the fact that it allowed us to also collaborate with people in a different way. And our co-producers and collaborators are Jim Scott, who's a legend, Grammy-winning producer and engineer. Also, Doggy Garza, incredible talent, producer, writer, performer.
Fiona Apple, Midland.
Yeah, exactly. And Jim Scott, among Tom Petty, Red Hot Chili Peppers, down everything. Incredible. So the collaboration with them was definitely, it allowed for a different kind of collaboration, sort of with those outside of the group, because frankly there's a decision to kind of give more deference to one of us on each aspect of it.
I actually thought it
Third
was
of the
just
record.
a desire to make it easier on me. So I was really grateful for that opportunity.
You don't have to fight for the slots quite
It
the
makes
same
Isaac's
way.
life
His
easy.
debate skills and didn't have to, you know, improve on this one. He was like, okay, 5, I'm done.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's different, and I mean, one of the things that is really special about this time in our careers, we've worked really hard to have a great relationship with fans, fought hard to keep a strong fan base all over the world as an independent band since 2003 when we left and started our label, and you know, we're grateful for the trust that our fans have continued to give us that allowed us to try new things. Like you mentioned, String Theory, we did a symphony project with orchestras all over the world. I mean, that was kind of a, you know, hey guys, this is a big bite. This is not a fair weather fan show. This is come and see this event. And so I think even with this project, there's a little, hey, let's take some risks, let's try some things, and let's give people a chance to get excited about something different.
Yeah, you have to do that. I mean, especially 30 years in. I mean, even 10 years in, you have to do something and challenge.
You've heard about the 30-year slump.
I can't believe it's 30 years.
Yeah, 30 years. I think it's a 30-year hump.
I remember when you guys
Bump.
came out. Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, I cut you off though.
Oh, but I definitely want to get into the songwriting as well, for you individually and together. But first, you know, just sticking to the album, tell me about the specific colors and why you tied these primary colors.
There's kind of two aspects of it. One is, you know, red, green, blue, RGB is a color format, and so as you know, guys who dabble at design and dealing with all that stuff over the years, that's something that's always in your head. RGB. This is an RGB, and RGB makes every color, but you know, they stand separate. But it just happens that the reality of it, and longtime fans will know, is that's kind of always been our colors. Like when we were kids, our mom bought our bedspreads in and green really? And blue, and I think even if I'm honest, I think some of our process is more red, green, blue, kind of. The fieriness of red, the calming, you know, kind of warmth of green, the blue, you know,
adventure.
Yes, great blue, wide blue yonder, you know.
Magenta, whatever.
I mean, colors.
CMYK just didn't seem right, so.
Yeah, exactly. I think, I mean, colors are emotional, you know, too. They send an emotional, you know, people have associations, obviously, with them. And so all those things together just kind of tied to the concept. But ultimately, yeah, there's this sort of invisible, you know, that's Zach. Zach is blue, Isaac's green, Taylor's red. That's just almost always been true. So that's one of the ties.
I buy blue cars. I've always had blue cars.
Everything's blue. Everything's blue in the house, different shades, or like.
My office is blue.
Are you more of like a navy, like a dark, you know, midnight blue, or like?
I mean, I like all the blues, but you know, I'm probably more of a cobalt kind of man.
Cobalt.
You know?
And here's what's my coffee cup.
In the middle.
There's Taylor's coffee cup.
Red.
Isaac, show something you're holding.
I don't have something right now.
You know,
I have a green notebook that I wrote all the album winners.
It's actually
Well, no, my suit is a dark green right now.
I mean, one of the things, again, bringing it back to you guys songwriting too, you know, these colors, all this stuff triggers emotions and it expresses things. Music, you know, we've talked about this. We do Q&As with fans. We always do interviews with fans each show. A fan that is in the membership gets to do like a one-on-one. And one of the things that has really hit me is this idea of music itself as an art form is such a powerful medium because it brings together everything. Like it's such an emotional response thing. It's almost unfair as an artist to get to use music to connect with people because music just causes people to feel things. It's a primal thing. And I think color is that way. And so when you combine all those thoughts together, it's almost like you're telling people how to feel, you know, about a project or a group of songs, or even before people, you know, you said, this means this to me, it means something to somebody else.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, and I've heard artists even tell me, you know, sometimes they assimilate colors with music and sounds. And I was curious, you know, because you named the album this and the whole theme, I was curious if, because you're kind of getting into that a little bit, but do you kind of, I mean, do you think, I've heard this before, so I was just curious.
We don't mix our songs based on I need more blue, I need more red or green. No, though that's been said. There's lots of artists that actually really do
Well,
that.
I mean, it's
We like our sound.
it's obviously a thing, though. I mean, you can see how that like there is an energy to the way colors play, and so you could do that fairly easily. Man, this song needs to be more green. It would make sense, I think, especially when you live in a world where you're trying to express the intangible to another creator. How do I get this feeling? I don't quite know how to explain it because I don't know what it is yet.
Yeah.
Using these things that people can, identify, like color, or in this, descriptive musical words. There needs to be more mellow or more high energy.
More green. Wait.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting. Blue and green are both they're all organic. You have colors that are in the world. I mean, these are, but they play roles.
Yeah, I mean, the red being like basically, in some sense, the color of well, if you go super primal,
Life.
it's like basically life, which is like blood,
Blood
and flowers,
and flowers and ripe fruit, and like that's like the thing you want. That's like lifeblood, literally, right? And then green is like all the
nature,
trees, and all the things
everywhere.
grow, and then water's the thing that makes it all work.
Exactly. Well, with these different colors in the songs, I know you guys are. So Taylor, your first song, we premiered it earlier, with Heart, and then we have another one in March, and then April before,
each month,
before the May 20th release. Is that correct? You're doing one.
Yeah. So why don't you talk about Child at Heart a little bit and what it's about?
So the first song that comes out today, we're talking about these different colors, called Child at Heart, and I mean, even the video, part of what we're talking about is also premiering the video, which takes a character which I'm sort of playing through a really terrible day, and so talking about kind of the blood of life and flowers and roses, and those are kind of themes that are tying the red part in. But I mean, this song is it's emotional. I mean, it's when it really comes back to it, if you listen to the writing of the song from that point of view. One of the things I love about this is you don't always have songs you can just present the chorus right from the beginning. Most songs, you think, is traditional songwriting structure. Here's the intro, here's the verse, here's the pre-chorus, here's the chorus. And so I love the fact that this song is very simple, but it really is almost it's almost a prayer. It's a outreach across to someone in a very personal way that says, stay open, stay alive, don't stop giving your heart away to things, don't stop risking things, and be sort of retain that sense of optimism and that sense of hope, even when it seems as if everything is just piling on and piling on. And we
don't lose the childlike innocence or hope, right? Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
It was the writing of it started with I now have kids that are almost adults and kids that are very little, and really just thinking about had on my mind so much like that coming of age process that is just so painful a lot of times. Like, okay, now I'm gonna move from here to actually, and at the same time I was sitting with my youngest, and he was just so confident and so clear about what he was wanting that moment and talking to me, and we were sharing experience, and it just sort of hit me that the power of that pure vision of the world. And like when you're there, everything's possible, and so the video, we had a lot of fun. We a longtime friend named Mark Steele and a company here in Oklahoma produced the video, and great team. And we had a challenging concept, which is essentially to tell a story without ever moving the camera. And and so when you watch the video, you see a combination of practical effects and digital effects. I mean, we physically shot the center scene where we were moving the scene in front of, I just stay stationary. And then you see, move from a restaurant into a bar, into, all these different scenarios, ultimately into a car wreck that happens. And this character is just getting abused. I mean, they're just getting, it's like going through the worst day.
Everything that you thought could go wrong went wrong.
It all happens.
Yeah.
But the theme about it, and videos are funny. A lot of times with music videos, bands make music videos, and they're really just something interesting that gets you excited about the song. But with this one, just really like the idea of wanting to have something that you wanted to watch again because you needed to figure out, well, how did they do that and what actually happened, and I want to see where the details are. But ultimately, it's just about kind of knocking knocking out of the park this idea that, you know, in a very literal way with the visuals, that life is gonna, you know, be hard, right? You're gonna throw a lot. It's gonna abuse you, and also giving love.
Every day.
Exactly. And
every day.
every, you know, the last 2 years in our lifetime has been one of the strangest times for, you know, the whole world. Right? We've experienced kind of a I think the idea of actually Zach is, you know,
He hates what Taylor
Those
said.
new people. Those
no,
new
he's
people.
but the idea of actually relationships, like giving love to people, and the fact that sometimes that when you put yourself out there, it, you know, you take a risk, and to not stop taking the risk. It should be charging. Actually.
Yeah, but it's not.
There it is.
Yeah, no, I definitely got that. You know, and I feel like the video complemented the lyrics too, just those highs and lows and what you were just saying. I'm curious, like with the 15 songs that, you know, it's coming from 3 different places.
Right.
3 different people, 3 different writers. So I'm curious, like how they thread together, you know, individually and just as a whole for the album.
We've been really curious about that too.
I am
Are you trying to figure it out?
I'm very interested to see how people will hear this. And honestly, that's, for me, that was the most exciting part of this project, was not in a way just what it will do, but the way it might change the way people listen to all Hanson music, the whole catalog.
Yeah.
Kind of when you separate the colors out, and people are now able to go, wait, when I go listen back to this,
It's going to sleep.
My
phone's going to sleep.
I'm sorry.
Like,
will it change the way they hear the songs? But yeah, writing it was interesting because, the truth be told, 5 songs is not a lot of material to tell a story. And when you don't know exactly, so in my case, I'm blue. I'm the last one. So I don't know, you know, what is Isaac going to do? What is Taylor going to do? And actually, mine was recorded first. And so the end was recorded first. And the first was recorded second, and the middle was recorded last. So Isaac sort of had more of a, he kind of knew.
I was like looking forward and looking. Yeah, oh, this is what happened.
I'm what one would call a slow burn. So I needed just a little bit more. Yeah, I needed just a little bit more time in my process to kind of because. Interestingly enough, what this process for me pointed out was how many ideas I had kind of backlogged.
Yeah.
And it was actually a really difficult process to decide, because what's so strange about I mean, I feel like I learned a ton about myself and about us all at the same time. A lot of things that I didn't necessarily expect to learn, and some that I kind of figured, oh, you know.
Now you're going to have to share something.
Yeah, so my thing was, the thing that I learned about it was how significant the collaboration is.
Right.
In the sense of how we kind of feed off of each other, and the little bits and pieces that we drop in to each other's kind of ideas as a unit, that I kind of think I was taking for granted some of that, but also similarly taking for granted the fact that when you don't have that, how deliberate you have to be about certain decisions that you're making, and really knowing what you want to say and how you want to say it and feel. And so, you know, everybody goes through a different version of that, but for me, that was certainly a kind of a fun process, and also a kind of unique one. Like the biggest question was basically, what are you going to say with these 5 songs? How do you decide?
Yeah.
How do you decide?
What you say?
Well, somebody asked, I saw a couple of lots of questions, but one that I saw go through was, were you present for each other's recordings? And I think that's kind of speaks to the process.
Oh, absolutely.
And the answer is for some of it, you know, not all of it. And part of it was to leave room, so everybody had their kind of moment, just working with David and with Jim, really to set the tone. And we all used that differently, like the collective time we were together versus the separate time. But I think that the continuity, I mean, one of the things is how people are going to hear this. I mean, no matter what we've written together, we have influenced one another's creative process just by osmosis, because of living, working, and singing together over years and years. but I think the glue is that still the sense of, there's still a sense of who we are. We all still have a sense of our way of seeing the world is at least, you know, unified in wanting to put positive things into the world, wanting to make things that last, you know, that aren't just about, you know,
Of course.
you're writing songs. And we, you know, we're excited to be on with you guys as American Songwriter, because songwriting, it really, if it comes back, if you had to strip everything back, we're all singers, you know, we're all players, but writing is one of those things that we've always prided ourselves in, because our great heroes, you know, so many of our great heroes were their authorship, their craftsmanship, you know, is really the thing that we idolized, you know, and still do, because that lasts forever, you know, it keeps being reimagined. You write a great song and it can be reimagined. And so, you know, it's really incredible gift to get to have, you know, to be able to write songs and share them with people.
Of course.
I mean, it's unfair that we get to spend so much time doing something that is this
I know.
special. And it's amazing to everybody that's watching, you know, you're the ones that allow us to continue to get that opportunity. So it's amazing.
I don't know that I would say it's unfair, because it's sometimes really hard.
Of course it is. I mean, I'm a writer as well, and I feel the pain in a different way, not as a songwriter.
It is, well, it's painful, but you know,
It is.
so digging a ditch, so.
Yeah.
See,
the great thing about digging a ditch is, you know, that it's just, you got to dig a hole right here, and it's got to be so deep. When somebody says, write a great song, you go, what? You know, is it, how deep is it? How wide is it? How long is it? What material are we going through? You know,
it's painful abstraction.
Yeah.
Zach is starting a construction.
Painful and glorious at the same time.
Absolutely, absolutely. No, and honestly, that's one of my favorite parts about this. And we're talking about Child at Heart, but as we go through these songs, the song "Don't Let Me Down" is the third single. It's the blues single.
Yeah.
And the story of that one really is the night before we recorded it. David said, "Man, I wish you had another one like this." And to me, that's one of the great joys of being a creator. When someone says, "I wish I had that," you have this ability to go, "Can I tap and create it? Like, I create things. If you want it, I can make it." And that song, you know, people will hear that in a couple months, but I think all of us kind of had moments like that in the process where you dug deeper into yourself, because you weren't relying on your brother as much.
Exactly.
You weren't filling the holes the way you might normally. Like in the process, you might leave something knowing Taylor was going to come in and add his sound or his idea there. Right?
Or you might have a great verse and a chorus idea, and then bring it to everybody. Go, hey, what about this?
Right.
And that can really change things a lot, depending on.
Of course.
Yeah, so.
It's different when you're working off of each other and individually, and you know, it's the same as someone leaving a band and putting out a solo album. You know, you don't have that band behind you backing you up anymore. You're on your own, and that's it. And you're a songwriter, and I'm curious, because you guys have been doing this for so long, and in terms of, and since we're talking about writing, and that's very important. How has that shifted for you over the years? How do songs come to you in a different way now, individually and
well, everybody can comment on that. I mean, for me, it's always it always sort of happens in the most unexpected times, and so the challenge is to be disciplined, to keep being like doing the things that are craft versus when the inspiration arrives, so that when the inspiration arrives, you're able to realize it, you know. And I think oftentimes, I know for me, I actually write a lot of the things that I first write come just from up here, not sitting down and like, I have to write this. But what you learn we've written and produced with incredible writers for years, and force ourselves to be disciplined, to be able to be kind of courageous enough to put yourself in pressure and say, now I'm going to start with this, I'm going to sit with these chords. And I think band writing, like truly band writing, is another thing, like playing with one another and letting music, like a drummer and a player, like, and
that is truly the fourth process.
Well,
yeah,
you each have a defined role.
And I think that's almost more like you would make that akin in the hip hop world or the dance world too, when you have a programmer and he's building a production right from the beginning, and that writing is a blast. Like that, I love that writing style, because it draws you to something so specific. as well. But I think,
not surprisingly, Zach oftentimes gets very bored in that writing style. He's like, I can only play a drum beat for so long.
both for me, but it's interesting. I mean, I'll let you guys say, but for me, a lot of times I identify a hook or a melody or a phrase without ever playing an instrument, and that is really like very clear, because you sit down the minute you play a set of chords, you're like, well, this is what I know how to play versus what I hear, and sort of idea. It's almost like a movie starts to play, like, and then you figure it out.
You know, I think, so you're talking about how process has changed over time.
Yeah.
And so I'll try and use an analogy. I think of it sort of like Legos. So when you're a kid and you're starting, you really don't know how to build Legos, right? And so you have to look at the instructions, and you buy sets. And to that extent, when you're writing songs and you're starting out, usually your songs sound a lot like the songs you're listening to.
Well, and that's also covering. That's also covering songs live too. Is building off the instructions.
Well, and what I find now is like when you look at a bucket of Legos, and I love Legos.
Yeah.
Legos are awesome.
There's nothing there, right?
Except everything.
Except everything. Except everything. And you don't actually get inspiration until you start to pick a piece. It's sort of like, you know what? I'm going to start with a blue piece. And you start to grab pieces, and it becomes this ever-changing shape. And sometimes you get partway through, and you go, man, I can't find two of this. So I have to change it. Now it's going to be red and green, or red and blue, right? And so it's sort of like you get what you ask for. If you dive in, you can build so many things, but you have to get in there. You have to dig to find it.
Yeah.
And sometimes it shows up. I mean, what Taylor's talking about, sometimes you just go like, whoa, there's the piece, and there's everything, and just pops.
Sometimes,
Mostly it's the digging. It's the putting yourself in that place where to be creative, to look for the song, to find the inspiration, and all of a sudden you start hearing it. You start hearing it everywhere. You're driving a car, and the rhythm of the tires, or the sound of the static on the radio. Like suddenly you start going, "Oop! I hear it everywhere," because I'm asking.
Well, which also reminds me of one time in the breaks of one time we pulled up to a gate after the plane landed. Yeah. And they stopped in front on an airplane. As the plane stopped at the gate, the brakes made a sound. And literally all three of us immediately heard which is a Sheryl Crow.
That's great.
Yeah, it was a Sheryl Crow song. So why am I saying that? I'm saying that to say that there are things and moments and stuff that will hit you out of nowhere and immediately inspire a thought or a feeling. And yes, that always exists, but I also think about the fact that creativity is a muscle. And that's one of the things I was struck by so much in this process is like what Zach said. It's like you have everything and nothing, right? So you got to start, you got to practice the creativity in a very intentional way. And I think there was a real value for me personally in allowing myself to decide that this was the set of, this was the bucket of Legos I was going to pick from.
Right. And nobody else told you what it was. Nobody else could tell you what it was.
Well, yeah, and there's a great fun and great advantage when Tay or Zach come in with something really fun and cool and exciting. You're like, yeah, man, let's dig in. But it can be a daunting task when you have to decide, I got to pick which bucket. And so I think that was cool for me personally.
Yeah. Well, tell me about your song, "Write You a Song." Coming out.
Well, I mean, I don't want to spend too much time on it because I think
save that for another.
I think
talk about, because you're the only one who actually collaborated with other writers on this.
That's actually says a lot about about us as individuals. Taylor and Zach are kind of more like more kind of individual in a certain sense. There's a co-write on every single one of my songs. And some of that is very deliberate, actually. And some of that was about my process where I just said to myself, I don't want to I want someone to throw things off of in a very specific way.
Mm-hmm.
And so in a couple cases, I used our friend and producer David Garza, who did the work with all of us on all this record. And in another case, it was with a very close friend named Paul McDonald, who's a fantastic songwriter.
Shout out to Paul.
Shout out to Paul, one of our best friends, who happens to also be an artist. And he came into town and wrote a tune with me. That is the I'm gonna write you a song. Write you a song. That song is he and I, and a little bit of David as well. But the majority of the idea came through that process. And that one's what I'll say about Write You a Song is that it's very personal. It came from a very literal, personal place. And it's very much built around my relationship with my youngest child, who happens to be our only daughter. And just kind of, it's all about memories. It's all about capturing memories and not letting them go. And how music has the ability to kind of capture that memory and that moment and always continually remind you of it.
It's like an emotion time capsule.
Exactly.
It is. I feel like songs are like short stories in a way. You know, every song.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of like how music videos are kind of like short movies.
Exactly.
You know? Yeah. And so I think it was really, really fun. And actually also co-wrote with our other brother, who happens to also be a very talented singer and songwriter. Mac is his name.
Yeah.
And his band is called Joshua and the Holy Rollers, and wrote actually a couple songs with him as well. So.
Great. Cool.
Well, you mentioned emotion, and we're hitting 30 minutes, but probably we should wrap. But coming back to where we started with the first song, here we are in February. You think about Valentine's, and the love theme, love is in the air, and when people can definitely go check out the first video. Come back each month. We're gonna have that song. We're gonna have the next, and so lots and lots of music, but. Definitely for everybody watching, everybody listening. I mean, one of the things that's cool about this tour this year is it's a worldwide release. As an independent band, it's always hard to keep connected and have that network everywhere. But everywhere all over the world, you can get this new music. So definitely go check it out. And I wanted to say one other comment about this song and the video. When people watch the video, it's kind of jarring at first. You see like blood and almost just
it's pretty dark.
and the reason. So when you're watching this, think about the things we're saying about the story of the song, which is this idea that it's really about staying hopeful and staying taking those chances. And the video is really to show sort of the literal idea of taking abuse, taking beatings from the world. From all the things that come at you. And, this idea of just trying to keep that sense of optimism, that sense of hope is really what, it's all about, and kind of taking that to heart and saying, well, there's always going to be reasons to throw out and go, well, things are likely to go the wrong way. I should give up. But the spirit of the tune and the spirit of the video, and then you'll see every song has its own story. Is to kind of amplify that message.
I'm excited. Yeah.
I like the abstract nature of the video for Child at Heart, because for me it was a really interesting way to take the song, because you could go a lot more literal in certain ways with just kind of some of the tone, but the way that the concept of kind of both the execution of the video as well as the literal sense of like the literalness is I am getting beat up by the world, and then the abstractness of kind of taking this person back through their memories of how they got to that place, and how do I get through this place? Kind of, right? How do I get beyond it? Well, sometimes you don't know, but maybe you just got to start with I'm going to.
Yeah, well,
I feel like the past 2 years have really woken us up to that as well.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
This project, I hope like people will go on this journey with us. Obviously, this month is red, and next month is green, and the month after that is blue, and then the album comes out. But I think hopefully what it illustrates is sort of that we are very different, but we do choose to come together. Like I think that is one of the things I hope people walk away with, and seeing like we have a song that was put out a few years ago called Compromise, and it's all about just sort of this thing we do. And in the world right now, I think it's a really important message for people to understand the fact that we're different has nothing to do with why we come together, right? You know, and I think that's a
the world is really boring when we're all the same.
Yeah, and like we don't have the same creative process. If this was longer, I mean, the way we recorded, the way we involved each other. I mean, everyone is kind of on each project. I play drums on stuff, but then sometimes I don't, you know, and everyone went at it their own way, but we're still a band, and we're still on tour together, and we're still singing these songs together. And I think that's an important thing to do right now for people, is to say we represent being together, like, you know.
That's great. And congratulations on 30 years. I mean,
Thank you.
I don't even know how that feels for you, how you compute that in your head.
It's like multiple
maybe it's all a
lifetimes.
blur. Yeah.
Yeah, multiple lifetimes.
I'm really tired. My back hurts.
Me too.
It does feel like you've been a series of people, you know. And
Well, we have kind of.
I was gonna say, I think it has been 30 years, but the truth is it's really probably 3 or 4 distinct careers.
Yeah.
Though we've always been Hanson, there are stages and the roles we've played for each other, and that continue. You have to expect that. You have to change. You have to get better. Otherwise, it's just too hard. You know, you have to grow, but then you retreat from an area, and somebody has to become that person, you know, to kind of keep your dynamic healthy, you know. I used to only play drums. Now, you know, I do all kinds of stuff.
But mostly Xbox.
Yeah, mostly Xbox.
Yeah, mostly Xbox.
PlayStation.
Yeah, and Dungeons and Dragons.
Well, thank you all. And yeah, I see you're coming into New York in July, so
we're
excited. We have the tour starting in June, so
the tour starts in Europe in June and takes us all over the planet. Lots of shows in North America.
There are still some dates that will probably be announced later on in the year as well, especially Australia and potentially
Australian dates are not actually announced, but with the window, you know, that'll come. So lots and lots of shows. So yeah, definitely wherever you guys are, come see us, and get the first song, and then lots and lots more music to come.
Yeah. Well, thank you. It was great chatting with all 3 of you.
Thanks everybody for joining us. Yeah, no, thank you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Cheers.